Hey there. Today I wanted to talk to you about private blog networks. And if you have not heard about private blog networks, essentially these are a series of unrelated websites that are designed to look like a blog, point back to a singular website with the goal of increasing the backlinks. And there's more to it than that, but generally in my experience, these blog networks, they are found by Google's and their algorithm over time. So it's a very temporary measure, and the amount of time that is put into them in order to rank a site generally just it's not a long-term prospect. And I wanted to talk to you about it today because it's something that's always been in my mind, and I can't believe that I'm not surprised they're still around in 2020, but they proliferate because they do work to a certain degree, but I will never recommend them. Over time in this series, I do plan on building one just to kind of show you how much effort it takes to build one and maintain one, and how it might be better to put that time and effort into just creating one great website and working to create more relationships between other websites where those links are more powerful than just a link. They're actually a real indicator of a relationship between two different websites and two different communities. I wanted to talk to you also and kind of give a really good illustration of what a private blog network is. So as you can see here, in the middle, they have a website, a money website. That would be your primary website. That is the one that you want to rank. That's your bread and butter. And then all around it are individual websites that point to this website. And all these websites have nothing to do with each other. The reason why this really doesn't work long term is that these individual sites are really the junk. The content's terrible. The design is a basic theme. There's no real community going on. There's only a handful of articles to begin with. Not You'll see the WordPress meta links there. There's just typically there's not a lot of time and effort put into these individual sites. A great website takes a lot of time and investment in time to really create an authority. What's happening with these individual ones, you really can't do that individually. And so what happens is although they might provide some sort of gain, short-term gain, they don't provide a long-term gain. And ideally, Google will find the sites, and then over time, they'll recognize that the content is crap, and they'll start to reduce the quality of these sites, therefore reducing the quality and value of the link going to the website. So that's a really great illustration. And in general, this is a pretty decent, in terms of decent, this is a good illustration of what it takes to put together a blog network like this and all the different things that you want to take into account. There's a lot to it. It's not something you can do overnight. And there's certain things you can automate, but to create a great website that's going to provide high quality long-term value, this is not the way to go about it. And if you want to ask, well, do they work? Earlier I did say yes, they work. They can work, but generally they don't work long term. And it's a risk. So if you are operating a quality business that you want to be around for a long time and grow loyalty with customers, don't do it. But I want to illustrate in this video what's going on. And I found this other example of, and the question is, do they work? And the answer is yes, they do. But the problem is they don't last for a long time. It's a band-aid for building, that is. Essentially, they said you have to build your PBN right, you have to be safe about it, or you're gonna get penalized by Google. So just imagine you putting all this time and effort into several dozen websites that point back to another website, and all of a sudden you do get penalized by Google, or the value of your links drops tremendously. And your next thing is what to do now. You have to recover from that penalty. You have to put all this work in. You have to ask for forgiveness. It's generally not worth that time and effort. With that said, I want to talk to you. I'm going to use this blog as an example of what's going on. Just a really quick, you know, what's going on. So essentially, it is against Google's guidelines. Private blog networks have been around for about a decade or so. They keep saying how Google algorithm has continuously been evolving to strike them down. But generally, if you do things with an air of naturality, anything you can get away with anything. But over time, I just if you're doing it cheaply, it's not going to work. I could go into why it works. So the idea is to find a domain that's expired that has a certain amount of cachet to it in terms of value in the links that that domain it has. And these domains are people who maybe had a venture that didn't go the way they wanted it to, or they forgot to renew a domain, or all sorts of different things that's going on. So like I said, you're looking for, since Google has not updated their own page rank signals since I think 2014, there's other platforms you can use. You can use the Moz, Majestic, Ahrefs. They all have their own proprietary domain and page metrics. And the goal is to find a domain that has as high of metrics as you can get that you can purchase very quickly. And so these are some of the metrics: referring domains, backlinks, and general spam check, because you could just easily be purchasing a domain that was already part of a private blog network and that failed and went under and they stopped paying for them. But before I started this video, I was actually looking back at an old audit I did about a year and a half ago, and I found several private blog networks, all generally the same WordPress design and same type of information, junk content, definitely not written by someone who has an idea of the Native American dialect. And I looked, and those websites are no longer alive. So they don't last. And I know that a lot of small businesses who are hurting to rank better go for low quality SEOs, which is what happens. So generally, here's some things that suggesting is don't buy domains of less than 30 for referring domains, blah, blah, blah. And the idea is to have some cachet going into these links that are going to your primary site. And you can use all these metrics. What else we got here? Do the anchor texting natural. So essentially you're doing link audits, a full website audit on these domains that are down. So you have to do that. You look at the Wayback Machine, and you look at for expired domains or an expiring domain, so you know what's coming down. And they have brokers. They even have ones that are designed for this sort of thing. So to find domains that are already vetted for some of the metrics you might be looking for. There's auction sites and things like that. And again, you need to be, what you're trying to do here too is each domain, you don't want it to be found that your singular person is owning all these different domains. That's not as much of a problem anymore, because who is now automatically redacts most residential information. So it's usually not too big of an idea problem. But as what they're saying is you want to have a few different registrars to make it more difficult to find these domains, because ideally, if these domains are all at one particular domain registrar, the chances of them being part of a private blog network is going to be easier for an algorithm to find, or a human to find. And then generally there's hosting. So again, you don't want all these domains hosted on the same IP address, or even in the same country, maybe even in the same state if you're in America, the United States of America. So your hosting is going to be in a variety of different areas. Here, what they're suggesting is to find a hosting plan that offers multiple IP addresses. And what you'll do is you'll have the same host, but you're going to use a different IP address for each website, each domain. So here's a few examples of some hosts that you can do that with. So that's what they're providing here. So, and then you have to set up the websites. Most shared hosting is going to be using cPanel, which is a really great platform. It offers a variety of different features. I'll plan on doing more about cPanel later on in the future with my website development series. And so as you can see here, you can launch WordPress websites in seconds. And so you'd be doing this for each individual domain. You would be going through all these settings, creating the account, and then you just, and this is, here it is, rethemed blog. Essentially, you're going to be doing the same blog. It's just going to be a different theme and content. That's really all it's going to be the difference. And what is this? This used to be news on Ferraris you need on the internet marketing. A blog about doing internet marketing, your own goal to own your own Ferrari with design. So essentially, let's take a look at these. What are these? Why isn't this? Let's try. There we go. So they're trying to laptop bags now. So I see what they're trying to do here. What they're explaining is if you purchase these domains for your private blog network and you need it to be about, you really need it, the primary site that you're linking to is going to be about a specific niche. You need to find a way to spin the domain's keywords into what your niche is about. And here's an example. This socksandunderwear.com used to sell socks and underwear, but you need to be about entertainment. So their suggestion is making a blog about keeping entertained in your socks and underwear, which is pretty much most of the lifestyle these days anyway. And so that's generally it's really just, really terrible doctoring of what the concept of the domain is. They're admitting, hey, sometimes it's really hard to do. Then there's cityscaping is an idea that you purchase a domain, an expired domain that has a city in it. And their example is if you purchase one with Springfield in it, well, there's, as I said, 30 different cities in the United States with that in. And then you can target a certain state if you needed to. That would help in when people are searching for a specific thing about Springfield. And then maintaining the old niche, whatever that domain was. So, and then there's also local business sites. So whatever it is you're trying to do, there's a variety of different options for you. Then there's WordPress themes. Like I said, usually there are certain services where you can purchase a license and have dozens of themes available to you at your disposal. So they'll use the same theme framework and just change up a few things about the theme. And that's one way I'm able to recognize the same website what the private blog network is. They all have the same theme framework, and they're all doing things the same way. They provide some settings here, then creating the content. So this is the part about SEO that I always say is content is predominantly the most important aspect of your website, and it always is. And generally, what they're recommending here is a minimum of 2 to 3 pages and 2 to 3 posts. The more, the better. And so if, let's say you do have a blog, a private blog network, say 12 domains, and they only have 2 to 3 pages and 2 to 3 blog posts, and that's it. They never grow. That means that that page at first might have some relevance and might look fresh and appealing to Google, but if there's no content added to those blogs, they're going to lose all that cachet and value over time. As you can see here, the idea is that, and they want you to create a persona. You don't want to have the same person all the time. I've seen private blog networks where they use the same type of they'll use an illustration of a person, and they will then have like maybe a very small 2 or 3 sentence thing about that person. But you can always tell that this is a blog network because they use that same style of person and that same 2 to 3 sentences about that person. It can be easy to find information about this. And this is going to be a concept that you'll hear about. This is an idea from Google called your money or your life niche, or your money or your life page. And essentially it's pages that are expected to have more relevance and authority. And this could be things such as finance sites, health sites, education, anything that really has to deal with money or life. It is expected to be higher quality content. So generally what they're saying is to really not focus on those. Google is generally expecting higher quality content, whereas they don't expect it for things such as shoes and socksandunderwear.com. And so a few different types of posts they recommend, and then all the different types of pages that they recommend. And this is the part where you really want to start recognizing where the scumminess of private blog networking is stealing free content. And then what happens is you can have content created for you for $5, but you're going to get what you pay for. And then there's also I don't think they're talking about it here, but what you can do, what they often do is when they get that crappy content, they then respin it using programs. And what happens is it's shit in, shit out, and they just put that on all the different sites. So essentially you have 12 blogs with really terrible content, all looking the same, or generally the same. And then site structuring, nothing different, and linking to your money site. So this is where the strategy comes in, is where the links go to. I recommend that they're saying that there's 4 places that you're going to have content linking to that money site, and it could be the footer, the sidebar, or an image, or within the actual content. I really wouldn't recommend any of these 3. Links within the content generally tend to be better. And so when I looked at this earlier, And of course, another thing that happens is generally you'll want to have a specific type of anchor text with the keywords you're looking to be found for, but they can't all be the same, so they vary them widely. So, but I wanted to show you something. Here we go. So this is the actual linking structure of everything. So this is the network, and you have all these different types of clustering, they call it. So they have 7 private blog sites linking to these different sites. So 2 of these sites are linking to the weight loss site, and then 2 of these other private blog networks are linking to an affiliate site, and then uh, this this one over here is going to the affiliate site. That one's going. So they're all so each private blog network is only pointing to 1 or 2 different sites at the same time, and so that's essentially what's going on is you're covering your bases, you're diversifying the amount of sites that a private blog network site is linking to, but the actual site itself, the individual sites are trying to stay as far away from each other as possible. So, but this is sort of where I think you can start to recognize what's going on. If you happen to know where these private blog networks are and they're linking the same places, you can do enough work back and start to see, oh, this site's pointing back to this site, and that's where the issue is really found. And as you can see here, here's a GIF of Google recognizing how that works. So their recommendation is to have clusters of networks rather than just have them all separated like that. So this is really where you're spending so much time trying to do all this crafty work, where you could have instead been writing much better content for your website, reaching out to other sites within your community, within your niche or your industry, and striking up a relationship that really helps people. So, and then there's bot blocking. So you essentially what they're trying to do here is block some of the SEO tools like Ahrefs, that's Majestic. They don't have SEMrush in here, but yeah, you can block that. So you're blocking all the bots except for Bing, Google, Yahoo, and some of the others. What else do we got here? What else are they trying to do? Outsourcing creating systems. So essentially, they're saying, hey, as you can see, there's a lot of work. You can create a company or work with a company, ways to do it. And there's alternative solutions. What else they got here? Renting or buying links. So again, if you have a blog network, you can actually sell links to a company if they needed it, and that's it. And the rest is just junk comments. So this is just a real short introduction to private blog networks. Hopefully one day I can actually show you an example of one. Ideally, if I can ever do an audit of a website that's being penalized. One of the things I would like to do is actually create a private blog network far down the timeline. I don't plan on doing that anytime soon because as you can see, it takes a lot of work. There's certain things you can optimize, like you can, create WordPress sites very quickly, but it still takes time. I could use, I can spin up a bunch of different servers very quickly, set them up, domains up on them, and WordPress, and launch them very quickly. But there isn't a cost to all that. At minimum, it's going to be $3 to $5 per hosting package. It's anywhere between I don't know how much the auctions are going to go for, but a domain is going to be on average about $10 or so. So you're thinking a domain is 15, or just one website is going to be $15 just to launch it off the ground. If you've got 10, that's 150. For your average for someone who's really bootstrapping their website and their SEO, that could be tough to find that sort of cash. And then there's also the time investment. It's just I don't think it's worth it. I would rather sit and write great content or develop great content like these videos and get them out there that way and develop a community around it and a loyal community that keeps coming back. So again, this is really just me musing very quickly on private blog networks. There's all sorts of information about them out there. Anyone that's really worth their time is going to say that they're just not worth it. You're going to get and it's just a temporary boost at most. So, well, I think I'm going to leave it at that. And let me know what you think about private blog networks. And I'd like to leave it at this. When I spoke to an outsourced SEO who I was investigating for a client that I had about a year and a half ago, and I asked him about these private blog networks. And he said, don't worry about it. I've never been caught. And I like to think that's the same thing criminals say when you're running something and you have to say, I've never been caught. Generally, you're doing something wrong, whether it's legal or just, plain unethical. If you have to say, I've never been caught, there's something wrong there. And if you're trying to run a business about trying to not be caught, I think that has a lot that's something that's going on. Run a business where you're not worried about being caught. Run a business where you're worried about providing a great content, providing great service, providing good content. That's what you should be worried about if you're running a great website. So that's all for today. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you next time.